We can't even get a floor vote on Medicare for all.
That's garbage. You can do it right now. We need 15 Democrats.
Hi, Jimmy.
We need the elected officials that you helped get elected to tell Nancy Pelosi that you will not vote for her as Speaker unless Medicare for all is put on the House floor for a vote.
I think it's a really smart idea.
You know, the worst abuse of power, Crystal, is not using the power you have to fight for people.
Will they? Time to let AOC know they have no other option because we're watching and we see through their bullshit excuses.
We have to put public pressure on them.
I want to see who's going to vote against healthcare in the middle of a pandemic. If you're not going to do it now, you are never going to do it, you phony.
All the people who filled up your voicemail, they're going to remember whether you did the right thing here.
Which side are they really on? This is where you force progressive House members to reveal who they answer to. Do they answer to their constituents or do they answer to the party bosses? Listen to AOC's own words.
The Democratic Party does not do more unless it is pushed.
And so this moment is the great unmasking.
Force it to happen.
Ask them, are you fighters or are you careerists? Are you activists for the people or are you posers on Twitter?
Everyone's going to try to tell you that if you're just a little bit nicer, then it'll be fine. No.
The whole point of protesting is to make people uncomfortable. You got to make them uncomfortable. She's pretending to be part of a movement when she's really running cover for Nancy Pelosi. Did you think anybody voted for you so you could vote Nancy Pelosi without getting them anything? This is Medicare for all. People's actual lives depend on us doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's your chance to actually use your leverage. Will you?
Take risks.
Or will you be a party fucking climber?
Start bringing the ruckus on the Democratic Party. Force it to happen. Do not trust any political party to automatically work in your interest.
I call on everybody in independent media to join this mission.
Force it to happen.
Force the Congress to show which side are they really on. No vote for Nancy Pelosi unless Medicare for all is put on the House floor for a vote.
The Democratic Party does not do more unless it is pushed. So we need to push them.
Man, great job, Matt.
He goes by the name Orf.
Wonderful job.
So call him.
There's debt, there's destruction.
Global news impacts us.
We have to change the way we live.
This is why we need independent media.
Cheers and salutations. Welcome one and all to a very special Hard Lens Media recording. So first and foremost, thank you so much for subscribing to our YouTube channel. Please consider being a patron supporter. All the links to our channel are in the description box below. And so thank you once again. Hard Lens Media is live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Central on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, and Kick. So start your morning right and righteously angry with Hard Lens Media. So pour some whiskey in your coffee, grab a mimosa, smoke a bowl, do some shrooms, chew on some cacao leaves, whatever you need to do to get you through this Wednesday morning. If you're going to work, be safe. If you're coming home from work, be safe. If it's your day off, dance off, pants off. So I think it's only fair that we talk about what's going on and the video in question that I first played up. It's titled Bring the Ruckus, #Force the Vote, which was edited by the talented Matt Orfala, who has done phenomenal work and is one of the dauntless few who speaks truth to power and always triggers the neoliberal establishment and hack fraud progressives who really just can't seem to wrap their heads around the fact that the Democratic Party and the squad members are nothing more than just that, frauds. So keep on doing the great work, Matt Orfala. But why did I play this video? Because something historic happened in our fledgling little republic of ours. Yes, in our 234-year history, Kevin McCarthy, former Speaker of the House, became the first Speaker to be voted out of office by his peers. Now, why is this significant? Why should I bring this up? Because in 2021, during the height of the pandemic, there was a movement called Force the Vote, in which 15 progressive congressmen and women who ran on Medicare for All were asked by their supporters and their most diehard followers if they would rally together to hold Nancy Pelosi accountable and force a vote for Medicare for All on the House floor. Unfortunately, it has been revealed that a lot of those quote-unquote progressive heavyweight champions, the people who ran on Medicare for All, would not take the initiative to challenge the Democratic establishment. But yet, I think as the years went on, we are shocked and surprised to see firsthand just what the Republican Party has been able to do to really challenge their leadership. And I have to pull up this tweet because I think it hits the progressive movement the hardest, because we were only asking for a vote to withhold their votes for Nancy. But alas, that wasn't to be the case. Case in point here, shout out to neoliberal tears. The squad could have been the first elected members in 113 years to oust the Speaker of the House for being a corrupt insider trader, which is what Nancy Pelosi truly is, who's against Medicare for all. They would have ruined Nancy Pelosi's legacy and embarrassed her in front of the entire world. But yet they chose not to. However, as I remove this tweet, I think it's important that we do bring up this next video, because Matt Gaetz, however, he didn't seem to follow that rule, especially when it came time to challenge the former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. Case in point, he was raising the ruckus. And while I may not politically agree with Representative Gaetz, in comparison to the squad and how little progressives got from that movement, at least he's able to get things done. But how embarrassing it is now that once again, force to vote is being proven correct. And yes, we will return back to force to vote and why Jimmy Dore and Brianna Joy Gray and so many others were proven correct about force to vote. Let's first pull up this video here and let's play it.
If there's a deal made with Democrats, the only deal is to make one with McCarthy, because I'm not offering anything and won't offer anything. And by the way, if the Democrats want to own Kevin McCarthy, they can have it. Because one thing I'm at peace with is when we stand here a week from now, I won't own Kevin McCarthy anymore. He won't belong to me. So if the Democrats want to adopt him, they can adopt him.
And so leading into that, we have this article here from RT, just to trigger the vote blue no matter who people. So the U.S. House of Representatives voted 216 to 210 on Tuesday to oust California Republican Kevin McCarthy as House Speaker. Throughout his short tenure, McCarthy has faced persistent opposition from the right for compromising with Democrats on government funding and aid to Ukraine, this ridiculous war in which billions upon billions of dollars are going into this war, but yet the people of Maui get nothing. The people of East Palestine, Ohio get nothing. Flint, Michigan, going on how many years without clean drinking water? Chicago has lead in its drinking water. So many cities and small towns are being devastated, impacted by natural disasters, crumbling infrastructure, but yet no money for the American people, but yet billions for war. We live in a horrible neoliberal nightmare world, folks. Continue on, Florida Republican Matt Gaetz introduced a motion to oust McCarthy on Monday, 2 days after McCarthy rallied GOP lawmakers to pass a bill funding the U.S. government until November 17th. Matt Gaetz and a cohort of hardline conservatives opposed any attempt to combine funding for different government agencies into a single bill, with Gaetz warning that he would move to oust McCarthy if the bill passed. Gaetz was able to launch the removal of McCarthy thanks to a compromise reached between the California Republican and Gaetz Freedom Caucus allies in January, in which the hardliners agreed to back his bid for speakership in exchange for the ability to remove him from office if they lost confidence in his leadership. And I think it's abundantly clear that Kevin McCarthy just didn't have what it takes. He wasn't that impressive to begin with, but yet, remember, if we rewind back the clocks to 2021, people like Fat Tony, Cenk Uygur, and Sammy Boy Sedar were so afraid that he would become Speaker of the House. Now that fear has gone away. Remember, folks, we're going to return to force the vote very, very soon, and it will be very hilarious. Continuing on, Gaetz denounced McCarthy as a feature of the swamp. Shortly after the vote, it's the benefit of this country that we have a better Speaker of the House than Kevin McCarthy. Sounds like Matt never liked Kevin. Even though McCarthy dropped military aid for the Ukrainian army from the funding bill, Gaetz still accused the now ex-speaker of cutting a secret side deal with President Joe Biden, the senile old man, claiming on Monday that McCarthy had shared details on an apparent deal with Republican lawmakers. By agreeing to pass a last-minute 45-day stopgap spending bill on Saturday night, the Republicans averted a looming government shutdown. "I kept the government open so the families of our troops and border agents could get paid," McCarthy said, while defending his record. "If a handful of Republicans side with Democrats to move me for that, it's a fight worth having." Again, folks, remember, just to pull up this. This took place by Kevin McCarthy on October 2nd. Bring it on. Well, it was brought, and looks like you ran out of gas, McCarthy. Can't say I don't feel bad for you, though. Continuing on. Currently, Patrick McHenry, a Republican from North Carolina, was declared acting speaker until the election of McCarthy's replacement. So this is a huge historic event that has took place. It's sad, though. Again, I want to give a shout out to this wonderful individual. If Speaker Pelosi wouldn't guarantee bringing Medicare for all to a House floor vote up, down, like Gates is asking for today, the squad would withhold their vote for her speaker, along with every House GOP. How rockstar would AOC have been if she vacated the mama bear? Alas, we may never see what that truly is like, but I want to give a video, or pull up a video here, of none other than Glenn Greenwald, award-winning journalist, to give a short-minute breakdown of what exactly took place with Kevin McCarthy being the first ousted House Speaker in U.S. history. So let's play this video for all of you from his show System Update.
We have very breaking news, maybe a couple of hours old at most. Kevin McCarthy becomes the first ever House Speaker, the first in U.S. history, removed by a vote of the House of Representatives. Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz yesterday filed a so-called motion to vacate against McCarthy, which automatically requires the full House to vote on whether to remove the Speaker of the House. No such motion has ever previously succeeded until today, when the House voted in favor of Gaetz's resolution by a vote of 216 to 210. All 208 Democrats voted to remove McCarthy, which is not a surprise. He's a Republican House Speaker, and they're Democrats. And then when 7 other House Republicans, in addition to Gaetz, voted in favor of the motion, McCarthy was immediately removed as of the conclusion of the vote. 4 House Republicans, along with 4 House Democrats, did not vote. The House session was gavelled closed by one of McCarthy's closest lieutenants, Congressman Patrick McHenry of North Carolina, who was automatically anointed acting speaker now that McCarthy is removed. He is definitely not expected to remain in that position. There will be a new House Speaker chosen. Now, although McCarthy's removal shocked Washington, again, it's the first time it has ever happened in U.S. history, this move has been a long time coming. McCarthy barely was elected Speaker back in January. He was elected only on the 15th ballot.
Again, we covered that when that was taking place. And again, that event in regards towards Kevin McCarthy being elected as Speaker of the House is a shining prime example, the first example of what a force of vote would have looked like if AOC and those other squad members and progressive lawmakers actually came together and stood true to their values of fighting for Medicare for all. But yet there are so many people, so many sycophants of vote blue, no matter who people, the blue MAGA people, that want to carry water for the Democratic establishment, that say we have to keep our powder dry. We just have to hold Biden's feet to the fire and we'll get what we want. Listen, if you associate yourself with the Democratic Party, that's where your soul will die. It's the real truth. Progressives got nothing from the Democrats. There's no purpose to be involved with the Democrats. And before any liberal says, well, how come you're being so critical to the Democrats? What about Republicans? Well, I know what to expect from Republican lawmakers. They're never going to fight for Medicare for all. It's low-hanging fruit. If you want to watch a show that's going to insult Republican lawmakers, go watch BSDNC or CNN or TYT. You'll get plenty of that. See, the Democratic Party put on this neoliberal mask to make themselves look like they care. They don't. That includes AOC and people like Bernie. They don't care. They don't like you. They don't think about you. And they don't respect you.
Protracted battle for Speaker of the House in 164 years. And it was back then Matt Gaetz who led a slightly larger group of populist and conservative House members. Back then it was around 20 or so against McCarthy, who refused to vote for McCarthy until they extracted a wide range of concessions that made power in the House much more dispersed and equitable than it had been in years, since the days of Paul Ryan and Nancy Pelosi, both of whom, as Speaker, consolidated previously unprecedented power in the speakership. But unlike the Democratic Party, which just this week AOC proudly boasted was, quote, running like a well-oiled machine, meaning a party that marches in unanimous lockstep, there is substantial and intense internal debate and dissent within the Republican Party. We have been pointing out that for a long time. And that internal conflict never really went away after McCarthy was finally elected Speaker in January, and the anger toward him, and really more broadly toward the establishment way of doing business in Washington, exploded over the last several weeks within the conservative wing of the House Republican caucus as McCarthy approved massive spending and debt measures with the Biden White House to avoid a government shutdown, and then negotiated a secret deal with House Democrats and Senate Democrats to ensure ongoing funding for the war in Ukraine after Republicans showed that they had a majority of their caucus, roughly half, who refused to vote for more funding. All of this came to a head with today's.
Now, I actually want to pull up the vote here for a second here, because I think it's important that we do bring up about the squad. Again, great breakdown by Glenn Greenwald. Shout out to Alan. Hey, AOC and the rest of the squad. This is how you hold leaders accountable. This is how you play hardball with the swamp. Every Democrat thinking this is dysfunctional demonstrates their lack of character. Well done, Representative Matt Gaetz. And this is the killing blow to Kevin McCarthy's speakership.
On this vote, the yeas are 216. The nays are 210. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
And how sweet it would have been if that was Nancy Pelosi. But alas, that's not the case. I want to give a huge shout out to Colin Radix Carter, who is one of the contributors to Indie News Network. Please be sure to follow them. They have done fantastic groundwork and do great commentary and analysis on their program. And again, this is Ayanna Presley. He's retweeting it out. One of the members of the squad. And yes, she was also part of that petition, that forced to vote petition. Fancy this woman is asking Republicans to vote for the very man who wanted to get rid of her progressive colleagues in Congress if he had the chance. We live in a freaking cartoon. Republicans, you are welcome to join us and vote for Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker of the House. Yes, Hakeem Jeffries, who is as corporate as they can get. And yet the squad and the Democratic establishment, all these quote-unquote progressives and liberals, are more than happy to flock around Hakeem Jeffries because he's, well, a click, copy, paste version of his predecessors. I know. That means the legacy of Nancy Pelosi and all the insider trading that our fantastic Democratic and, yes, Republican lawmakers in the Senate and House continue to do. See, they get to live rich lives and have gold-plated health care and make a six-figure salary and have other wonderful social benefits and have cushy jobs waiting for them while the rest of us are starving or working 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. It's impossible to own a home in America. It's impossible to have Medicare for all, affordable education. But we have money to bail out banks and money for endless war. I want to pull up this tweet here as well. Shout out to Natori Lee. That's what trash-ass AOC, Ilhan Omar, Jamal Bowman, Representative Cori Bush, Rashida Tlaib, Representative Presley, whack-ass was supposed to do to Speaker Pelosi. Mama Bear. Do y'all remember when bitch-ass Cenk, Fat Tony, Uyghur, and Sammy Boy Cedar, lion-ass, talked about people couldn't do this? Once again, they look like damn fools. And they do. They very well do. So here's where we return to force the vote. Because there was a point, to be fair, when Sam Cedar and Cenk and a few other people were on board with forced to vote. But then, I don't know, not to be suspicious here, not to cause any alarms, but perhaps they might have got a little phone call, maybe told them to stop, because after all, it wouldn't be the first time you saw these larger outlets or these quote-unquote progressive leaders all of a sudden flip-flop and say, oh, we can't do it now. We have to keep our powder dry. We have to help Biden. We have to help out the Democrats. There's not enough votes. Oh, we have to work harder for the midterm. Yeah, it turns out all of that was BS because progressives, independents got nothing. So I want to bring the floor to Brianna Joy Gray. Because right now, she should be having a huge victory feast after not only going through a debate with Cenk and Sam Sedar, and we will be playing those videos, but again, force the vote was proven correctly. Jimmy Dore has been proven correct. Brianna Joy Gray, proven correct. Nico House, proven correct. Hardlands Media, proven correct. RBN, proven correct. So many others who stood in solidarity with force the vote. We were correct the whole time. I want to pull up this video here, and let's bring on this analysis.
Force the vote. Progressive squad members could leverage their speakership vote to extract concessions from Nancy Pelosi. Now, unlike Republicans now, the left's asks were to be substantive, not just procedural. One key ask was a vote on Medicare for All, which was intended to keep the fight alive and draw contrast between Democrats' claims that they want to improve health care for Americans and the fact that they repeatedly kill Medicare for All legislation as quickly as they receive money from the pharmaceutical industry. If you want to understand why the vote for Medicare for All was such an important ask, just look at what's happened over the last 2 years. Look at how California, with its Democratic supermajority legislature, killed a statewide Medicare for All bill, or consider how silent all of the squad members have been about Medicare for All since the end of the Bernie campaign. Did 68,000 people a year stop dying from a lack of health insurance, or did it just become uncool to talk about it now that we're outside of a fundraising cycle? Now, some of us, fearful that exactly this would happen, rallied over the holidays in 2020, staffing phone trees and calling progressive Congress members furiously about the plan and even planning rallies. As left media figures debated the merits of the plan, people like David Sirota offered constructive additions to the ask, including a suggestion that Pelosi be forced to oust corporate Democrat Richie Neal from the Ways and Means Committee, where he was poised to stop progress on healthcare reform. What should be clear is the specifics of the ask were much less important than the following fact. Nancy Pelosi was obviously an enemy to the left and should not have been voted for without gaining something significant in return. After AOC's first notable day in Congress, during which she protested with climate activists in Pelosi's office, the longtime speaker made quick work of bullying the squad members into submission. An iron fist and a Gucci glove is how Politico described Pelosi once. And over the course of their first 2 years in Congress, the squad members largely submitted to said fist.
And that's when I think a lot of us realized that the squad was just that, a name. But see, it's not something that we as progressives or independents gave them. No, that was Nancy Pelosi's nickname. No progressive, no group in the left came up with that name. It was Nancy Pelosi's slur and insult to them. And again, I want to pull up this other video here as well. Brianna Joy Gray, again, tweeting this out. This is a situation where there is leverage because of the narrow majority in the House, like we saw in January, the Force the Vote campaign. If 10 or so progressives were willing to withhold their vote, the posture of this situation would change dramatically. I want to pull up this video here as well.
Yeah, it's enormously disappointing. Look, there has been some diversity of opinion in the House. We had Rokana on the show earlier this week. He was very clear that he would not vote against the stimulus on the basis of the $15 minimum wage not being included. However, other progressives has been more flexible on this issue. Jamal Bowman has indicated that he's very frustrated that the House isn't fighting, House Democrats aren't fighting harder, rather. And you heard Pramila Jayapal indicate something similar. So, people like David Sirota, smart political reporters who have been on the Hill a long time, have pointed out that this is a situation where there is leverage because of narrow majorities in the House, the narrow Democratic majority in the House, in the same way as we saw last month or back in January with the Force the Vote campaign. If, 10 or so progressives were willing to withhold their votes, the posture of this conversation would change dramatically. If Republicans are willing to say they're not going to vote for this enormously popular stimulus bill because they think they're giving Americans who are struggling in an unprecedented way too much money, it's really damning when you look at Democrats who are unwilling to hold the line to give Americans more, the help they actually voted for and the help they actually need.
Yeah.
And I want to go right back to this video again, because again, the squad, as well as those other additional quote unquote progressives who ran on Medicare for all, if they actually formed together as a strong voting bloc, they would have had true legitimate power. And before all the critics say, well, it wouldn't have done anything, if they were able to withhold their vote and act as one, it would have shined a light on the heartless lawmakers who already have gold-plated healthcare, who would deny the American people, shine a light on those bastards, those scumbags, at the height of a pandemic, who would not give us Medicare for all. Imagine how powerful the progressive movement would be. Imagine how motivated the squad would be. Remember, a lot of those members of the squad came from support from Justice Democrats, Brand New Congress, Our Revolution, and DSA. And as it stands right now, currently, well, Justice Democrats, they're laying people off. And DSA, well, let's just say many people are abandoning ship because people are smelling the rot from within. Don't forget, DSA did vote to remain a branch or association with the Democratic Party. How's that working out, progressives and independents who are still blinded through their support of the DNC? How's that working out for you?
But here was an opportunity to draw attention to the corruption that paid for that proverbial Gucci glove. The squad members could have demanded important committee assignments. As the current rebel Republicans have done, they could have forced a vote on banning stock trading by Congress members. After all, Pelosi's personal wealth has ballooned during her decades in office, widely out of proportion to her congressional salary. This is a woman who famously defended congressional stock trading despite the clear conflict of interest and insider knowledge Congress members possess. This is a woman who just presided over the quiet death of a bill to end congressional stock trading, one that was arguably designed to fail in the first place.
By the way, our oh so fantastic lawmakers are still doing insider trading. And let's be clear here. Let's say the squad were to actually rally. Let's say in 2021, they were successful. Those 15 progressive lawmakers on that force to vote petition were able to really shake things up and make things difficult for Nancy Pelosi. That would not indicate that she would lose her speakership. The only way that would happen is if the other side agreed to support the other party. So, when Kevin McCarthy lost his seat, he only lost it because there were 8 Republican lawmakers who were more than happy and willing to side with the Democrats in order to see him ousted out of office. You see, if your party has a said majority, the majority party doesn't lose the speakership. Never forget the lies that they told you. Again, shout out to Brianna Joy Gray. Remember the string of lies they told? I do. And again, this is from 2021. Listen to the latest episode of The Intercepts. Oh my goodness. Deconstructed podcast, and was disappointed to hear how Pramila Jayapal was repeating the fiction that force a vote risked McCarthy, oh my goodness gracious cretaceous, from becoming speaker, and Ryan Grimm failing to correct her. Again, the only way McCarthy would have become speaker is if there were some Democrats that were willing to break ranks from their party and support the Republican. Again, if you have the majority, that's not how you lose the speakership. You got to have people breaking ranks, which is what Matt Gaetz and those other 7 Republicans did. I want to pull up this tweet again. Democrats gave up power largely because certain leftists were too stupid to understand politics and too smug and small and petty to listen to those of us who did. Once again, a once in a generation opportunity squandered. Really embarrassing stuff from the establishment left. And hey, folks, I'm sorry to put you through this, but we must go ahead and go back in time and remember a time when Sammy Boy Sedar was so triggered and offended, especially with forced to vote. No, I won't play the video of him talking about Jimmy Dore because that's all what's in his head. But let's just say right now, Sam, Cenk, and everyone else that was against forced to vote, you're eating crow right now.
Third or fourth round. Wait a second. Second round. Now you have 15 people who vote for Hakeem Jeffries, 215 who vote for McCarthy, and 205 who vote for Nancy Pelosi. What happens then, Virgil?
Wait, hang on. Why would if memory serves, McCarthy
So
got
these
212 votes? So you're not saying that number goes
No,
up.
I'm suggesting
That's
in round
every
two.
Republican.
In round two,
In
one
round
of two
two,
things
nobody
has
can
to happen.
nobody can marshal a majority, so it goes to round three.
No. You don't need you need a plurality of
That's not true.
It would
That
require
is not true.
Democrats would
Here, I'm going to rewind that just so all of you can hear that again one more time, because Sam Cedar's having a hard time understanding basic rules and mathematics. Again, Sammy boy, how's that crow tasting?
Wait, hang on. Why would if memory serves, McCarthy
So
got
these
212 votes? So you're not saying that number goes
No,
up.
I'm suggesting in
That's
round
every
two.
Republican.
In round two,
In
one
round
of two things
nobody
has
can
to happen.
nobody can marshal a majority, so it goes to round three.
No. You don't need you need a plurality of names.
That's not true.
It would
That is
require
not true.
Democrats would have to vote for Kevin McCarthy to be speaker.
Did you hear that? Democrats would have to break ranks. And Matt Gaetz and those 7 other Republicans, 8 altogether, broke ranks to vote against Kevin McCarthy. That's what Representative Matt Gaetz did. He broke ranks. The Republicans have a majority in the U.S. House of Representatives. I'm so glad we get to revisit Forced to Vote. It's so delicious because all those critics, they're eating a lot of crow right now. Sucks to be them. I wonder how they're going to tell us to vote for Democrats in 2024. Because they're going to say, oh, we got to be pragmatic. We got to get more Democrats in office. Every time the Democrats get a majority, they don't do jack. Case in point here. They were happy to get rid of Kevin McCarthy. But here's the thing to those Democratic lawmakers, because they fail to see the bigger picture. They don't know what it's going to cost them yet. Don't worry. Be ready for the fear tactics and emails for fundraising very shortly.
Or a large number will have to abstain altogether.
Yes, or abstain. Under your scenario, Sam, you need a majority of the people voting for a name.
Okay, so let's say,
which is to say, not voting president, which means
not voting
that if every single Democrat shows up and they vote for someone, then unless they have a majority within that caucus, I'll say it's not a majority, and this is again assuming the Republicans voted as a bloc and they're a minority, and no Democrat is going to vote for McCarthy, obviously, then it's just going to keep going to successive ballots.
Right.
And this is not an unprecedented situation.
Right.
It's simply a situation we've not had in 100 years.
And importantly, this
And
could
so-
go on for dozens of rounds, as it did in the historical precedent that Virgil is nodding to. And this is where we start to talk about.
Case in point, this video was made sometime before when Kevin McCarthy, before he had a chance to become Speaker of the House. And they went through not 1, but 15 rounds. Case in point again, forced to vote does work. It's just AOC and the progressive lawmakers don't have the spine or the soul or the heart to actually fight. They never did.
About media attention and spectacle, where Nancy Pelosi, who 3/4 of Americans want to step down, a bipartisan majority of people can't stand Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, who was down.
We got to talk about Democrats
was
because
down-
the Republicans, the Republicans
half-
are irrelevant.
Yeah, it's like half of Democrats want her. I think it's a majority of Democrats want her to step down. So the question is, isn't this part of the spectacle that we're trying to create around the issue of why 15 million people just lost their health insurance and what the government is going to do about it in this moment? So we don't end up in a situation where Joe Biden is saying, let's do more COBRA payments. Let's give more giveaways to the private insurance industry. And even if it doesn't result, obviously, in Medicare for all tomorrow, what it does is finally force has the best chance of forcing.
Again, want to continue on where we see Sam. We just have to rewind back the clocks, just how glorious this truly was and how they have to live with the consequences. Let's play this video.
Ask a couple of people I know who are sort of not necessarily directly involved in that, but sort of peripherally involved and might have known about that. And I heard they were going for other stuff. I think ultimately that turned out to be the PAYGO thing. And I don't.
Oh, yeah, PAYGO. Hey, how's that working out for everybody? Is everyone excited about PAYGO? Type your thoughts in the comment section below.
Think after that I said anything about it because I still felt like it's not a bad idea. to, inject this notion of leveraging the vote. And
So
I
you
think
talked
it
to- sorry, go ahead.
and then I think it wasn't until I saw Jimmy turn it into, the next thing I saw about it was Jimmy doing a video.
Oh boy, he's going to keep on talking about Jimmy. Jimmy lives rent-free in this man's head. Without Jimmy Dore, Sam would be alone with his thoughts, and that's a frightening, frightening situation.
Saying that AOC was the thing that was the person that was standing between us and Medicare for all. She was a sellout. She was a fraud. And I realized, like, oh.
Okay, so Sam, just to
I was an
clarify,
idiot.
I want to clarify. You said you talked to some people who were peripherally related, who said that they didn't think that force the vote was a good idea.
Well, no, it wasn't that I didn't think that force the vote was a good idea. It was more like I was checking.
It's his owners. It's the people who like to write big checks. Remember, Sammy Boy Cedar has that little Peacock connection. And of course, Cenk, Fat Tony, had that Katzenberg cash connection. You don't get money from corporate Democrats or corporate media and expect it to be a free lunch, do you? You got your little puppet strings around you, and you're forever intertwined with what the establishment and the Democrats want you to say. It's the truth. I know, liberals, breathe and drink water. We'll convert you to be like us very soon.
Checking around to see if there's other things that are being leveraged. And there was, and the answer I got was yes. And and I think I had conversations with people who were like, what
Can you name those names, by the way? Oh, he probably can't.
happens after let's presume for a moment that, and one of the things, I had trouble with subsequent to it was just sort of like, what are the mechanics of this? Like, exactly, like, what is what follows from the force the vote? And at that point I decided, okay, not a great idea, but I'm not going to, I'm a very much a, let 1,000 flowers bloom type of guy.
Are you able to tell us any more about who was
No.
you were talking to?
No, but it's no one.
He got a phone call and just chose to follow orders. Following the orders.
It's not earth shattering. It's, it's very peripheral people. And,
peripheral people. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for that insight. Their glasses are doing you wonders, buddy.
We all have our sources. Some are on the record, some are off. And
Sam's in a group DM with Bernie Sanders.
but I can tell you this. I will say this, just for the sake of your audience. It was not AOC, and it was not anyone at MSNBC. So there's the two sort of like.
I don't believe him. Somebody in a suit and tie gave him his marching orders, because at one point he was on board and then he flipped.
Well, because Sam, there are. I mean, I don't know whether to credit this or not. I read some of the comments on YouTube, on Facebook, and some people were saying that on Twitter rather, that there was some. They had sources that suggested that there were some folks in Congress or on their staffs that wanted to kill the force the vote movement, and I just wasn't sure if it was someone affiliated with a congressperson or not.
No.
Okay, so the question about step 2, I think, is that I'm glad you brought that up.
But now let's go ahead and just fast forward to our time now. Because again, Sam Sedar seems to have a problem. We were joking on the show today that no one could be this stupid. And yet, you have to talk about Jimmy, don't you? All the time, you must talk about Jimmy, Sammy. But again, shout out to Brianna Joy Gray. He still seems unable to make an argument or explain why he couldn't comprehend that there was no real risk of Kevin McCarthy becoming Speaker of the House if Progressive had tried to force the vote, and especially in 2021. But hey, he'll always have calling me angry because he lost a friendly debate. And by the way, after that debate, I sat through that debate. I had to rewind it many times because old Sammy Boy Sedar seemed to have gotten a little bit triggered. He seemed to have maybe made a mess in his pants because he started saying some very horrendous and mean things, saying that Brianna Joy Gray was mean and offensive and rude. When you watch the video in its full entirety, the Sam is the person being rude. And plus, he just can't stop talking about Jimmy Dore from Chicago. That's right, my hometown. But hey, let's switch it up a little bit, because the thing is, in the aftermath of 2021 with Force the Vote, which again has been proven correct, and everyone who supported Force the Vote in 2021 have been proven correct. Not just right, correct. all those who are against it really have nothing left to say. And again, shout out to toxic leftists who captured this wonderful gem, where even Cenk, Fat Tony, had to stop himself from saying forced to vote. Let's listen to this wonderful video. Oh, the internet, you're so beautiful.
So what you do is you force, when you vote no.
What did you just say?
So what you do is you force, when you vote no.
When you force them? One more time. Don't worry, this video is only 8 seconds long. Just one more time. Maybe I missed out on it.
So what you do is you force
the vote.
when you. So what you do is you force when you vote.
He literally farted when he said that. Force the vote. Vote no.
No, that forces them back to the negotiator.
So you gotta force the vote. And it turns out now just how pathetic Cenk has truly become at this point. If the Democrats vote with McCarthy, they have to ask for something that's actually going to help the American people. Oh, Cenk, you really think that the Democrats are going to do anything for us? I mean, hell, when you ran for Congress, they dragged you through the dirt. A lot of those progressive lawmakers like AOC or Bernie the Cuck Sanders, they don't even show up on your show anymore. They don't even talk to you anymore. They did everything they could to undermine you and fart right in your face, and you took it like a cuck. Not just more earmarks and privileges for themselves. Oh, good luck. Ask for a vote on paid family leave. It polls at 84%. There's no reason why we can't pass it. There is a reason. The Democratic establishment, including people like AOC, they don't like you, they don't think about you, and they don't respect you. Again, Cenk Uygur is now advocating for the Democrats' strategy of forced to vote. He's hoping you forgot he lied about it. Shout out to Jimmy Dore and sided with crooked politicians while slandering grassroots activists when the Democrats actually had power to do it. Fraud squad defender. Never forget. And again, if Democrats vote with McCarthy, they have to ask for something. They have to ask for something. Oh, my goodness gracious, Cretaceous Cenk. Again, pulling up this tweet right here. Shout out to Jimmy Dore. Day after day, we are shown that force to vote was the correct strategy. Again, it was the correct tactic, the correct strategy, the correct plan. And I am glad that Hardlens Media stood in solidarity with everyone who was with force to vote. It's been proven correct. I don't know how Cenk and Sam can look themselves in the mirror, but okay, whatever. It is what it is. And AOC and the fraud squad turned on their base and sided with the establishment. Energy, enthusiasm, and power to make demands the left could have had if they were more like Matt Gaetz and less like themselves. Don't forget the liars in the left media who slandered us and lied to protect crooked politicians such as Fat Tony. Oh my goodness. I mean, Cenk Uygur, Ryan, as boring as a cardboard, Grim, Sammy Boy Sedar, etc., etc., etc. Again, centrists are bragging that progressives never seriously considered using their leverage to extract a single thing from Nancy Pelosi that could materially benefit poor and working people during a pandemic when 15 million people had just lost their health insurance. Again, never forget AOC, Cenk, all those 15 congressmen and women who are on the force to vote petition, Sammy Boy Sedar, Ryan, Grimm, all those people defended this old hag bag. Again, Hardlens Media from us. With everything that took place today, turns out Jimmy Dore, Brianna Joy Gray, Hardlens Media, Nico House, Indie News, Revolutionary Blackout Network, and so many others were correct about force to vote. Never forget those who stood against it. So what can we take away from all of this? What can we say about this interesting turn of events in American politics? Well, force to vote was the correct strategy. Our lawmakers, especially those quote-unquote in the left, Democrats, and those who have large media platforms to defend the Democratic establishment, will never take the bold initiative to do the right thing. They never will. But hey, you know what? There are some gems to take away. Maybe, I don't know. If you ever feel down about yourself, just hope that someday you get somebody to look at you like how Ilhan Omar is looking at Representative Matt Gaetz. I mean, after all, we got to laugh. The world is going upside down and might catch on fire. So why not make some humor?
Want all of us to take this bill or a series of minibuses that lump these disparate things together. The American people want all of us to take this bill or a series of minibuses that lump these disparate things together. The American people want all of us to take this.
That's a glorious loop. Well done. Well done, Internet. So as we end this segment, I want to thank all of you so much for tuning in, especially for those who have been supporting Hardlens Media. Again, we are live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Central on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, and Kick. You know, if there's one thing we can do, we can laugh. Just like Jimmy. Laugh at these hack fraud, jagoff politicians who constantly keep on screwing us over. Shout out to good friend of the show, Reef Breland. Again, really great work. So if you want to help out Hardlens Media, please consider being a patron supporter. If you cannot be a patron supporter, number 1, enjoy the show. Number 2, enjoy the show. Number 3, hang out with the chat. And number 4, share our content on social media. Force the vote has been proven correct. All those people who stood against it are now speechless. So what other way to end this than with none other than seeing a meltdown of an individual? Shout out to Matt Orfala, who is doing phenomenal work. If you're not subscribed to his YouTube channel, please do so. We got some music by Jesse Jett. My name is Kit. This has been Hardlens Media. Take good care of yourselves. And remember, don't expect the Democrats to do the right thing. They will sit on their hands. What a sight it would have been if we actually had progressive lawmakers that actually did have a backbone. Alas, that may never be, which is why we must start building and creating movements and organizations not connected to Washington, D.C. We must start supporting independent movements and also start supporting citizen ballot initiatives so that we can fight for a better future. Until then, peace. Take care. I'm up out of here.
This show. Jimmy Dore. I think Jimmy is Jimmy.
I wasn't asking about Jimmy. What do you mean when you characterize me and Jimmy as having a quote unquote alliance?
The days where he was doing force to vote and all that nonsense.
Cenk Uger's own audience overwhelmingly supports this idea.
And I support force to vote, as did Cornel West and Chris Hedges and Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske, members of DSA, and a whole lot of people on the left. Jimmy Dore. But I would like if we keep this conversation focused on us and whatever your concerns were about me.
Look, Brianna, so when Jimmy did a video, Jimmy all the time, and I attacking Jimmy.
Well, Cenk, you should really talk to Jimmy. I am not a ventriloquist dummy for Jimmy Dore, and I really wish you would respect me enough to engage with me as the human being that's sitting in front of you, and not.
Jimmy says in a speech, let's go to, hold on.
Jimmy,
no, I have to give you the distinction.
This is his audience, not mine.
And they see something in Jimmy.
And almost 9 out of 10 of them see right through his bullshit.
And if Jimmy is attracting a certain kind of audience and pulling certain people to the left, who resonates with them.
Anyway, I can't bear to talk about Jimmy. I hate to say it. I love Jimmy Dore. And I always have. So make sure you go to jimmydorecomedy.com.
Now what you're following, that's idolatry, that's just fake. And all that wallowing that you tolerate, that's not faith. The kings of colony watched autonomy make our graves. The kings of colony know no policy, only rape. Now once you fall asleep, it won't bother you what they they say. But the kings of colony, while they slaughter, they still complain. And we say, please color me, still too solemnly, still too plain. All hail economy, praise the pharmacy, seas in flames.
They're buying up Hawaii, and the smoke's not even cleared. Those vultures smelled the fire and an enterprise appeared. Investment opportunities where melted down communities leave vacant space BlackRock has been lusting for years. The council meets in private and they don't discuss survivors. Concerns among construction groups are all Lahaina hears. They'll wander through your city with this mocking sword of pity next to Oprah and her camera crew who tore the Trail of Tears, where footage flows as freely as the stream of liquid steel and the pools of pure aluminum that trickle down your wheels. And Biden's here to say he knows exactly how it feels, cause he had a kitchen fire once and had to miss a meal. And people still believe that piece of shit deserves your vote, like he's not why supplies are being smuggled in by boat, like he's not why our citizens were forced to stay and roast. And he can't unfreeze your funding, folks, cause Azov needs it most. I'll bet my every dollar Biden watched it with a smile. I'll bet he knows the whereabouts of every missing child. He's just the kind of man who lives to trample something tribal, collecting culture's corpses just to throw them on the pile. Like he and all his buddies didn't dream about the day when those who dared defy the donor class were cleared away, when home insurance triples and you can't afford to stay, and your land falls to the hands of those whose windfall fan the flames. The state will take Lahaina and they'll bastardize its name, and tourism will swarm it all the same. You see, the state we left Lahaina shows the ground rules of the game, the planes that in the night ignite the planes. And if questions raised that reckon the potential use of lasers, I suggest you take a closer shave by way of Occam's razor. And if those civilians stood between this country and its gains, then there's really nothing further to explain. Because you may know this already, if you truly know our past, but it ain't the first occasion and it will not be the last where Americans are kettled in and made to bear the blast, are barricaded in and left for ash. How many in Lahaina now are lying there awake and still can hear the city we left leveled in our wake? They still hear all the people that we let the fire take, instructed from above to stay in place. So look to the horizon, 'cause a fire comes for you. Desire made incarnate of the power-hungry few who instructed the police to not let anybody through, to barricade them in, and so they do.